Hello and welcome back to another Archaeo-Scope. This series is kind of like an inverted questions of doom, where instead of you sending me a question to try and answer to the best of my ability, I put a question out there for you in the form of a video, and together we consider the topic at hand and come up with an answer or a conversation which on our own we might not have achieved. Today's topic is inspired very much by changes which are afoot on YouTube, and YouTube is obviously the platform which I use to stream these videos, and it is a platform which is the most globally popular video watching media ever. It is one of the key places that people go to find video content, whether it's educational, news, entertainment, whatever, vlogging, this kind of thing. And so anything that YouTube does is a big thing, and it feels a little bit as though YouTube in the past couple of weeks is at risk of I don't know, denting the democracy of ideas, which in so many ways it has represented up until now. Now let me explain. This is all to do with YouTube and what they call advertiser-friendly content. So in the past couple of weeks they have been enforcing differently rules which have existed for quite a long time to do with the type of content which they deem advertiser friendly. Now this impacts some people greatly because they rely on YouTube for their livelihoods, their income. Thankfully I don't. I mean, my YouTube income is minuscule, and ultimately I've never really relied on YouTube for that. It's only ever been some pocket money. But there are some people out there who are greatly affected by this. But more than the money, the algorithm which actually decides whether something is advertiser friendly is effectively deciding what is going to be promoted to YouTube users. So if someone searches for something, a particular topic, it will be the advertiser friendly videos which are brought to the surface first and which will appear on those searches more prominently. So this has an effect on essentially people's ability to find video content. Now, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this and this sort of democracy of ideas because, well, the list of things which YouTube has deemed to be non-advertiser friendly kind of does touch on certainly some of the content which we produce here at Archaeo-Scope. So yeah, some of the rules are fairly reasonable. So one of them is no swearing, no sexual expletives. Fair enough. I don't really tend to do that on this YouTube channel. The second one is no, for example, nudity or overt sexual references. Again, that doesn't really happen. Actually, it happened once in a bath, didn't it?
If I were a rich man, ba 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 ba.
But there were bubbles, so I'm okay. Other ones include, for example, not promoting drug use and drug paraphernalia and this kind of thing. And again, I've never really done that. But the one that really concerns me is the broadest and most vague of these particular rules, and that is things to do with violence, politically controversial or sensitive topics, such as war and natural disasters. Now, if I was a journalist, if I was a full-on 21st century video journalist who uses and relies on YouTube for my income, I'd be very, very nervous because that latter one pretty much describes, well, the news, doesn't it? Most news has a political element to it, often reports on violence, often touches on natural disasters, and war is a big topic in the news. So there's a censorship question going on there, isn't there? And it's one of those things where I'm not quite sure what I think about that. But then it does also touch on, more broadly, not just current events, but also education. In my case, for example, recently we did a video with Chris Kolonko down in Sheffield, where we walked with some young archaeologists around a First World War site, and we were doing some essentially field analysis, field walking, seeing what we could see. And because the title of that video had WW1 in it, World War I got a little message from YouTube going, Oh, this isn't advertiser-friendly content, is it, Mr. Soup? And as I say, I'm fine with that. It's up. I'm not going to go, oh no, I'm not making it. It's fine. But at the same time, it's also not fine, because that is the very definition of educational content. And it's also the very definition of educational content, which isn't really being at all graphic or explicit about the topic. For the most part, though, if I was to talk about the First World War, it's really hard to be anything but graphic. You can't just say, well, in between 1914 and 1918, something happened. There was some tension. It was to do with, can't talk about politics. It was to do with countries not agreeing, and that led into this conflict that lasted for 4 years. And it all becomes very vague and very non-interesting and very uninformative and very, frankly, bland. It doesn't tell you anything, because it's really hard to talk about the reasons for the First World War unless you mention the political situation. It's really hard to talk about how the conflict unfolded unless you talk about the technology and the impact of that technology, i.e. the casualties. It's really hard to talk about the First World War without being explicit and being actually accurate, and that surely is the whole point of good educational content. More broadly, for example, I wonder if next week, when hopefully I'll be doing a 25th anniversary Ötzi the Iceman video, if next week that might be deemed to be non-advertiser friendly, because there is an element of violence in there when Ötzi gets shot in the back, with an arrow. Is that violent content going to be non-advertiser friendly and therefore deemed to be less of a priority in YouTube search engines and in Google, essentially, ultimately, and their search engine priorities? What does this mean more broadly than that, even for public access to information which is not just kitten videos and jewelry pickups and computer game pickup videos and just vlogging? What does that mean if you want to genuinely have a debate with someone about issues that really do matter? Now, those are questions. I want you to think about those, and please do comment below. But then there's another thing. There's another massive irony here. Massive irony, YouTube. And that is that this morning I was doing some editing of some stuff for next week. I was watching someone else's YouTube video, and up comes an advert, an incredibly violent graphic advert for Battlefield 1. A World War I computer game. Now, we've talked about this in previous videos. We've decided it's probably going to be quite good fun to play and it's worthwhile playing. But ultimately, that's one of the adverts which cannot feature on my World War I video. What? So one of the adverts is specifically violent, about a controversial conflict, and is so much more graphic than anything I would ever show in one of my videos. But apparently, one of my videos is not friendly to that sort of advert. It's crackers. And so I suspect that the answer probably lies, or will lie eventually, in people giving some sort of rating for the video, and therefore adverts can meet the videos that they want to feature on, and people won't will be able to filter maybe results. They won't have to be confronted, oh my goodness me, by a historically accurate World War I video if they don't want to. But the fact that this is being decided for us on a corporate level, and in actually frankly a very cold automated level, feels like it is an attack on this idea of the democracy of ideas, and the fact that hitherto YouTube has been a fairly good place to share good ideas, and that's all I want to show. All I want to show on Archaeo-Scope is good ideas. But if a good idea is deemed non-advertiser friendly, and I suspect many good ideas will be not friendly to advertisers with these rules, many good conversations will be deemed that way, then they won't be shared as widely as the kitten videos that you can put an advert on, or as those videos which skirt the truth of a topic in order to be more acceptable within within these parameters. Anyway, I just thought I'd share these thoughts and invite a conversation below. I am curious as to what you guys think. This isn't directly to do with archaeology, but it's directly to do with the reason that we're all here. You know, we're all here because we all like talking about this stuff. We all like sharing ideas from the past, and sometimes those ideas are, ooh, goodness gracious me, filled with, you know, harsh truths and realities which may be unpalatable for someone who has a very corporate view of the world. And I suppose, where does that leave us? Where does that leave us all? Where does that leave, I guess, the direction that we're all going in? Anyway, this has been very much an impromptu video. I actually planned on making something else this morning, but it turns out that I'd already covered that in a previous video, and my mind has been slightly, shall we say, compromised by the sheer amount of things that I've been doing in the past couple of weeks. This has been the busiest September and start to a school year that I've ever experienced with Archaeo-Scope, and I'm not remotely complaining. It's been fantastic. I've been doing Viking workshops, prehistory workshops, teacher training, consultation, blah blah blah, all across the north of England. It's been tiring. It's been the hottest days of the year as well. It's been great fun, but it did mean that this morning I spent 4 hours editing a video that that I didn't have to do. Anyway, it's been great, and I just wanted to share something with you this week and put something on the YouTube channel. And I figured this was an interesting topic to put out there, because it does directly affect news and education, and I think news and education are two of the best things that YouTube has to offer. What do you think? I'm going to stop repeating myself. I'm going to go and have a nice cup of coffee. As ever, until next time, guys, do take care. Bye bye.